All right, I believe I've already shared with you these navigation diagrams in a previous lecture. Have I? I believe so. No. Right. This is the overall top level diagram of how the navigation might split up, where you can navigate to your profile, and from your profile, depending on your particular role, if you're an administrator, you can navigate to administration features. You can, if you are a service provider, you can answer your frequently asked questions. You can manipulate, add, and remove services that you provide. You can answer quotes. If you are a client, you can read quotes, right, or that you had requested. You can see the responses from providers. If you're an admin, you can further do a couple other things. You can manipulate users, services, categories, FAQs, and a whole bunch of other things. So we're going to be spending some time down here in the admin, what I would call some of the more boring part of the application. But at least this part allows us to deal with and talk about some of the data models, right? And what the data that we are storing and how it's related to other data, and also. It makes it easier to talk more about the user interface, right? Since system administrators are not going to use some flashy or some markety, pretty user interface. It's going to be pretty dry user interfaces, right? So it allows us to talk about user interfaces in the context of something fairly simple user interfaces. Okay, and then as we progress, when we come back from the spring break, it'll give us a chance to go and start exploring this side over here of the home, right? And again, as we progress throughout the semester, the assignments will become more and more vague, right? It'll become more and more up to you what you want to do. The first couple of assignments were fairly hand-holding, right? We wanted to create a base set of skills in the project management, and also some set of skills on the software implementation, since there's quite a bit of diversity in the skill set of everyone. So we wanted to have some minimum set of skills. So anyway, so when we come back after the break, we'll focus more on more open-ended. Well, as we progress, it'll become more and more open-ended. So I spent some time designing what this might look like, which I'd like to share with you. Let's see. So for instance, if you're an administrator and coming in from the profile, you'll go to some landing page for administrators that presumably would allow you to navigate to other sorts of things that you can administer. Right? You can administer users. You can create and remove frequently asked questions. You can create and edit users. You can create and edit services. You can create and edit categories. You can do all sorts of things, right, from the administrator landing page. Yes. And each one of you will focus on different aspects of this, right? So, for instance, I believe it's Team 2 is working on frequently asked questions. Yes, so they will at some point they will need to create some user interface to be able to list all the frequently asked questions. Yes, I believe that was one of the functional requirements that I had suggested. In the assignment 4, right? That list users, list services, list categories, list frequently asked questions, list the answers. Yes. So certainly there will be some component or screen that would allow us to list things. Yes. As you select a particular element, you would navigate perhaps to a form that would allow you to edit that particular record. Correct? Right. Presumably that particular record that you selected, right? That allows you to edit, and when you edit it, you say okay, and you go back to the list. Make sense? And this pattern of lists and forms and lists and forms, more maybe like a summary and a details view, right? A summary view and a details view. is a very common design pattern, right? That will allow you to navigate through very complex data structures, right, and then edit every single record. Make sense? And that's where the focus is going to be in the upcoming assignment. You'll be asked as a team to choose. Sorry, as a team member, you'll be asked to choose to either build a list of things, list of questions, list of users, list of services, list of categories, or you'll be able to choose whether you want to do a form, right, where you're able to update or edit a particular record. Okay. As we progress, the week after that, right, we'll add some more complexity to this. Again, from admin, you can admin user. So team, I think it's team 1. I think it's team 1. Team 1 is tasked with, with users, services, and categories, I believe, right? So they might one of you might choose to implement the list of users. One of you might choose to implement the editing of a particular user. One of you might choose to implement the list of services, and one of you might choose to implement the editing of a service. All right, I'll leave it up to you what you want to choose. Okay. Obviously, whatever you choose will be always less than what the aggregate things that need to be built. Right? There's plenty of stuff to do for everyone. Right now, since we want to introduce the skill of using React, communicating with integrating with the API that we've been working for the last couple of weeks. Yes, we want to introduce that skill set of having a user interface communicate with a RESTful service. Right? We want to introduce that. That'll be the focus. It'll be focused on something really simple, just displaying a list or displaying a particular record. Let's see, what else? Some of these objects are related to one another, right? Notice that a frequently asked question is not really related to anything. So you can just edit the list all by itself, right? The list is the same, right, of questions. It's not related to anything. You can edit every single record independently. But some objects are related to one another. Like, for instance, a provider can be related to a service, right? And a service can be related to a category. Make sense? So the user interface should allow you to manipulate these relationships. Make sense? For instance, here I can navigate from the admin to administer services. So services allows us to add a service, remove a service, create new services. Yes? Right? This lists all the services, and this lists shows a particular service. Make sense? So down here, when I'm down in having selected a particular service, I could go down further and perhaps edit the questions for that particular service. Make sense? It would make no sense to edit the questions outside of the context of that service. Make sense? It makes no sense to navigate from admin all the way down to admin service questions, because these only make sense within the context of that particular service. Yes? Right? Even though theoretically we could have a screen that displays all the questions. Yes? I mean, theoretically we could, although perhaps it might make no sense. Right? So this dependency has to be there, right? Being able to navigate from a service down to a question. And then once you're editing a question, you're able to select the question, edit that question, come back, or add more questions, or remove a question, and so on and so forth. Everybody okay? Right. Same thing with if you navigate to a user, right, and you can edit a particular user, you can then perhaps look at and edit all the services that are provided by that user. And then you can add more services, remove services from that user, And that service, I can edit that service, and maybe I can see all the answers that you made for that service, right? All the things that you answered for that particular service, for that particular user. It's a three-way relationship there, right? A particular user is providing this service, and these are the answers for those services for that particular user. It's a three-way relationship between three data models, right? Okay. All right. So having said this, and having identified that most screens that we're going to be working on for the next couple weeks are either a list or a form, I'm going to provide you with a suggestion of what the wireframe might look like. Right? What the wireframe might look like. So I'm still working on assignment 5, trying to make it less verbose. So here's an example of what the wireframe might look like for the lists or the tabular representation of whatever it is that you're going to be representing, right? Whether these are users or services or categories or frequently asked questions or whatever your team is working on for that particular sprint, right? So you have headings at the top. You have search fields here at the top where you can type a field, a value of a field, and you can click on a search button here. You have pagination at the bottom. You have like a delete a particular row or select for editing that row. And the editing can be done two ways. It could be that row is copied onto the fields, and then you can edit the fields and say OK, and then edits that field. Or clicking on edit might navigate you to a dedicated details page that allows you to manipulate that record. You say OK, and then navigates back to the list. Right? Or within here, you can, if you're creating a new record, it might take you here, and then you can enter new values and press create, and then navigate back to the list. Right? Or if you're here, you can search for elements by typing some fields and create a search, and then shows you the record that matches that criteria. Or if you're editing, you can delete from right here, or just cancel everything and just go back. Right? For the upcoming assignment, the only thing that you'll be asked to do is be able to perhaps just create or update a single element, right, as opposed to deleting and search. We'll leave that for later. We're gonna try and make it as simple as possible. Again, because we're trying to get you all up to speed with React, interacting with integrating with the REST service, right? And here too, the only thing that you'll be asked to do is fetch me the list of users and display them. That's it. You'll be asked to do that in the upcoming assignment.